Andrew Reid. So exciting. We have one final time to go rock star crazy. In 2000, Andrew Reid created Vision Critical to disrupt the way companies engage with their customers when it came to seeking meaningful feedback. Andrew transformed the industry with a customer intelligence platform that is now used by hundreds of companies. He pioneered a number of tactics and solutions, eventually establishing technologies that would capture data over time so that brands wouldn't have to ask customers the same questions over and over again. What began as a startup in Vancouver's emerging tech scene has now turned into an award-winning, cloud-based customer intelligence company with 16 global offices and nearly 700 employees. Please welcome, rockstar welcome, to Andrew Reid.
Thanks so much. Okay, I'm the last person, so who here has to pee? Yeah, you can go. You won't hurt my feelings. I already have a beer, so I'm set here. So I'm going to talk right brain. We've talked a lot about Salesforce, a lot about the cloud, a lot about different innovations. Amazing hearing about people that are putting things in space. I'm going to talk about some things that are probably kind of obvious. If my slides load. We're going to talk about authenticity. And when my slides load, I'll go on about it. But I'll just say that what's interesting now, and what I want to do for the next 15 minutes, is instead of thinking like a marketer or a CIO, to think a little bit like the customer, to think like the consumer, and to think about how much has changed for that consumer over the last 12 years. I now am so much more than just my spending power, right? My data is worth a lot. I work at Vision Critical, so my attitudes and opinions are worth a lot. What's the business that we're in? And my attention is worth a lot, and so is my spending power. And brands are trying everything and anything that they can to reach out to me. We'll let the slides catch up in a second. But so we live in this world where it's easier than ever before to reach out to people. Outreach has never been cheaper. And because of all these reasons why I'm worth so much, I'm so valuable as a consumer, brands are doing their best to get in touch with me. Yet at the same time, I feel like as a consumer, they kind of treat me like shit sometimes. And so there's a story that I read on Medium from a guy named John Westenberg. And he wrote this story. He's an entrepreneur, and he's a marketer. And he decided to do a little social experiment. He said, what would happen if I mass followed a bunch of leading marketers, the top tier digital marketers? So he decided that he would instantly follow 150 of the best marketers to see what they would do. And within 1 second, he got 100 direct messages back. And often he got the same direct message from the same person over and over again, where it's like, hey, John, awesome to meet you. We should connect on Facebook. Hey, John, awesome to meet you. We should connect on Facebook, or whatever it was. And his article goes on to talk about how the experience left him feeling like this was kind of inhuman and inhumane, and an experience that just brought him down to a CRM data point. We are in the businesses, and you're all in the business. You're here because of the importance of your CRM. But just because you have all that power, all that exciting ability, doesn't mean that you need to abuse it. You need to think differently about how you create authentic relationships with your customers. Maybe now I can push forward? Is it the clicker? Mine's got like it looks like a Twister game. No? I'll just keep going.
Hey, Andrew, we don't have your slides. We were waiting for them.
Oh, that's awesome. Really?
Yeah, but you could email them to us real quick right now. Get them in the cloud. It's a little sheepish right now.
They're in the cloud.
Could you send them?
You don't have my slides?
No, they didn't send them to
really
They said
weird.
you should see your slides.
Charlene, are you out there? Well, it's a little late for that now. I mean, people want to have beers and stuff, so I think I'll just talk for a bit, and we'll just keep it going anyways, okay?
Authenticity. Exiting right. Oh, you won big time. Sorry.
I mean, I'll pull up a couple of them so I can look at them and know what I'm talking about. But this is interesting. Yeah, so where were we? We were talking about this John Westenberg guy and this idea that you don't want to treat your customers like shit, or your prospects, or your people. And the thing I want us all to think about is this idea of authenticity. And I had a slide I was going to show you all, and the slide talks about the fact that one customer can affect your brand. When you say one customer can affect your brand, and what we were going to do is play a really fun game, but one customer can affect your brand, usually people think about the negative aspect of that. Like, I love telling the story about United Airlines and Dave Carroll. In 2009, this guy named Dave Carroll was this musician. Someone witnessed the baggage handlers actually drop his guitar out of the airplane on the ground. They broke his guitar. He was this nice guy from Nova Scotia. He kept asking United Airlines if they could fix his guitar or get him a new guitar, and they said no, so he got upset. He put together a YouTube video, and within a week, he got a bunch of hits, and he actually took United stock down by over 10%. So those stories are abundant. Everyone has those exciting stories about all the bad things that can happen. But I like to think about things the different way. I've got more of the abundant view. That if you can create authentic relationships with your customers, if you can create trust with those people, that you can uncover the gold. You can uncover stories that help transform your company, stories that help you actually tell a larger story to all the customers that you have out there. And it's something that I think can't be underestimated, and that it really happens through being able to have ongoing conversations with your customers. And so I'm just now going to pull up my presentation here. So, I think thinking about how we push towards authenticity, there's 3 different changes in customer expectations that are worth noting. So the first one is that customers expect real-time responses right now. If a customer reaches out to you, and you need to make sure they can reach out in any way they want, whether they want to do it through an app, through the mobile web, through a web form, making sure you're getting back to people as quickly as possible. And that's somewhat obvious, but I think it's worth stating. The second is that customers expect a personalized experience. But don't mistake a personalized experience for retargeting. When I put my customer hat on, I can't stand retargeting. I bought a pair of spy sunglasses 3 weeks ago, and I'm paying the price for it. Every time I go on to Google or any website, all I'm doing is getting ads for these spy sunglasses pushed in my face, and it's not a very good experience. But on the other hand, if I think about, I travel on Air Canada a lot. When I log into Air Canada, I want a personalized experience. I love the experience I get when I go into Amazon. I want that level of personalization for them to remember the things I've searched for and the past purchases that I've made, to have that help influence the decisions that I make and the purchases I make. And the third is this idea of customers expecting authenticity. And they don't just expect authenticity. I mean, customers crave authenticity now. It used to be all about, the 4 Ps, the product, the price, the placement, the promotion. And that's been completely changed. I think customer experience is hugely important now. And I think the story Andrew was talking about at Patagonia and talking about the importance of customer experience, definitely lines up with that. And the research really supports that. The number one question when people talk to customers, and the research that we're seeing done on why do you care about this brand and what makes you trust this brand, is this idea of brands being authentic and creating an atmosphere that lets me be able to trust them. So how do brands embrace this? What are the things that they can do? And I think there's 4 things that are worth mentioning. So the first is this idea of embracing empathy, having a personality, making sure whatever your brand personality is really stands out in a significant way. The second is sharing what you believe in. Whether your company is really small or very large, you probably have a value system, a bunch of core beliefs, a mission of what you're doing. Sharing that with your customers, sharing that with your prospects, sharing that with your people is a big step towards that authenticity. I think it's probably the biggest one, right? You need to actually be authentic to yourself. Your company needs to be authentic, and then you can really send the message out that people will listen to. I mean, if you think about Lululemon as a great brand and a great example of someone who really takes what they believe in to a whole new level. And it doesn't matter what your business is or how nerdy your tech integration might be, you still believe in something. It's worth mentioning that. The third is honesty. And you can't speak enough about being honest and the importance of being honest. Obviously, Volkswagen's trying to be honest right now. I remember reading about J.C. Penney. And when Ron Howard, who was the famous designer from Apple, came over and took charge of JCPenney, he sort of alienated their entire client base. He wanted to go out and completely reinvent JCPenney to be a totally different company. And in the process, he took their stock down and got himself fired. And JCPenney did a smart thing. When they realized what was going on, they just said, we'll put out big ads. They put out ads in major newspapers, and the ads said, "We're sorry, we're listening now." And it takes a lot of guts to be able to say that. But if you want to create that authentic relationship and that authentic connection with your prospects, with your customers, with your people, you have to be willing to kind of call it like it is. And I think that's worth noting. And the fourth is this idea of engaging with your customers. And so I'm in the business of that. What we do at Vision Critical is we create these communities that allow people to engage on an ongoing basis. And whether you do that with a system like ours or you have a lower tech solution, my hope for you is that your customer has a seat at the decision-making table. That when you're making a big call or when you're analyzing all the data you have, right? We all have this ability, and companies like Greg do a great job of letting you understand what your customer did, where they did it, why they did it, or how they did it. But understanding why they did it is hugely important. I'm not going to talk about that. I'll talk about this. And I am in the survey business, and I'm very upset with the way how surveys work. I stayed at a hotel a few weeks ago. It was a great hotel, the best experience I've ever had at a hotel. And when you're kind of buzzing, you leave this experience, you're so happy, and then a few minutes later, the email comes through for the customer satisfaction of the NPS survey, and you're like, okay, no problem. I'm willing to take this, totally excited. 1 minute in, still really excited. 4 minutes in, meh. Like 10 minutes in, this brand sucks. Like I forgot about how good the experience was. They started treating me like this mouse in the maze trying to get me through and get me to answer these questions. And they're doing that because they have all this benchmark data and they don't want to ruin their benchmark data. But every single customer experience is a brand experience. And so if you're reaching out to customers, make sure that you're aware of that and you're thinking of it that way. Just because it's been done a certain way forever, I mean, we're trying to reinvent the rules of market research with what we're doing at Vision Critical. But remembering that every customer experience is a brand experience, I think, in everything you do is something I can't say enough about. Okay, we're getting to some good stuff here. 2 years ago, we had this guy named Scott Monty speak at our customer summit. So Scott is was the head of social media at Ford Motor Company for a while. And he had this interesting quote when he was talking to us. He said, "As much as technology has changed, people have not." And you kind of say bullshit when you first say that. You think that because you think, well, technology's changed everything. It's changed the way I live. It's changed how I work. It's changed so many parts of my relationship, right? Facebook allows me to run into a cousin I haven't seen in 2 years and be able to be quickly caught up. But the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about my relationships, the people that I care about, the people that are the most important in my life, my family, my friends, my customers, my coworkers, and the people that are the most important, I don't need that many beers, but I can chug pretty good, though. Thanks. So the more I think about those people and how important they are, and the emotions that I have, right? There's these powerful emotions that you have, and you'll see I'm getting to a point in a minute here. And the emotions are sort of happiness, sadness, right? There's someone that I work with, and they've worked with us for 3 months, and they told me a story that was a really kind of tragic story. And the minute they told me that story, it changed my relationship with them. It changed the way I think about them. It changed how I view them. And there's other emotions around, the seriousness and casualness of human relationships. And I think those 4 emotions are important. And anyone that you really care about actually sits in sort of the crosshairs of those relationships, right? There's sort of a casual and a serious aspect to relationships that you care about. And living in those crosshairs and embracing that and embracing sort of the struggle in relationships is something that does create authenticity. And a lot of marketers spend time kind of trying to surprise and delight their customers, trying to have very happy conversations with their customers. I work in the world of market research where it's always a very serious conversation we're trying to have. And what I think that is important for marketers and for all of you to understand is that if you want to create a truly authentic relationship with your customer, you need to find ways to actually have some of those difficult conversations and to embrace the reality, right? The things I post on my Instagram don't reflect my entire life. I know it's a shocker, but I think it's true for most of us. And so customers are going through a range of emotions all the time. And your ability to tap into the fact that there's all this crazy stuff happening in the Middle East, there's a lot of uncertainty happening in the economy, and having conversations with people, when you think about how you outreach and how you message people, bringing in that range of emotion, bringing in and playing with the edges of those emotions. We don't all have to be like Coca-Cola, where every message I've ever seen from Coca-Cola is very happy, everything's great, the world is great, it's this sort of amazing view. I think embracing some of that struggle and thinking about how you could mirror those human relationships, mirroring the people that you care about the most in life with the conversations and the communications you have with your customers, with your prospects, and your employees, I think can help expand the conversation. And I think authenticity is something that you can't create. It's something that you can reveal over time. And it takes work, it takes effort, it takes you having a culture that you care about, embracing things like mastery, autonomy, and sense of purpose. And it takes bringing your customers in to the decision-making table and having a central conversation with them. And the third thing is this idea of playing with this range of emotion. And I think if you can do that, then you can take the right steps towards being authentic. So I was going to give a completely different talk, but that's what just came to my mind. Thanks, you guys. Am I done? Am I staying? Am I going?
Okay, no, you deserve an extra. I mean, that was awesome recovery. The content was amazing. You were a star. Let's stand up.
Oh, come on.
No, seriously, this is Rockstar.
I'm putting this on my Instagram.
That is the stuff of rock stars. Seriously, yes, you take that. And then now your Instagram actually is reflective of your real life.
Yeah.
Because that's what you deserve. Thank you so much,
Thanks so
Andrew.
much.
It was really, really well done. Really well done. Really well done.